My name is, oh, here we are recording. Um, my name is Maddie Niebauer, and I am the founder and CEO of VChief. I started VChief almost 10 years ago. Prior to that, I was a chief of staff, so I do have some personal experience with insurance and have sometimes procrastinated on my own renewals. Um, if a little housekeeping before we get started, if people want to drop their name and organization in the chat, you can get to know each other and who all is here. Um, and we'll also have some time at the end for Q&A, but as questions come up, feel free to drop them in the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. So, as I said today, we are talking about insurance, and we're going to cut through some of the noise and talk about a few different things: property and casualty, employee benefits, and renewals. And we'll be bringing some strategies for cost savings, talking about some of the top risks, and also learning more about employee benefits, all in about 30 minutes, followed by a 15-minute Q&A. And with me today is Aaron Zetterower. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that. I should have asked you how to
Right. No,
pronounce
you
that
got
in
it right.
advance. From Epic Insurance Brokers. And he works with schools every day and their insurance needs, and he knows how to make this less painful. So Aaron, welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And yeah, just kind of a quick hello and background. What I do at Epic, and after actually Epic, we operate in verticals. We're now the largest privately held firm in the country. So I lead our charter school practice, and I've worked with charters now for 20 years. I was saying 18 until somebody reminded me I said that, a couple of years ago. Anyway, so just focus on charter schools, do have some non-for-profits as well, just because they're ancillary there. We have healthcare, energy, transportation, and other things like that that other folks in my organization work with. Really today, we just kind of want to go through a high-level overview of how to make the renewal process easier and the key things that you can be on the lookout for and questions to ask to make sure the school doesn't have any unexpected costs, uncovered claims, because everybody has those.
Right. So, insurance feels like paperwork some of the time, but for schools, it can really be a financial lifeline. And, leaders sometimes get dragged into things that they shouldn't own, or they get it wrong, or it's annoying. And sometimes it feels that way, but the effects of not doing it right can be huge, right? So Aaron, I know we're going to get to risks in a moment, but what's one of the bigger mistakes you've seen a school make without naming any names?
Yeah, one that pops in my head is, and I see this a lot with schools, is water and sewer backup exclusion.
Mm,
Uh, we all know kids don't, they don't realize the cost when they put a tennis shoe down the toilet and flush it. Uh, anyway, had a school have that occur. Third floor,
okay.
wasn't a client, so they had called me afterwards, unfortunately. Um,
Ugh.
Student flushed the toilet on a Friday, flooded the school. It was a $650,000 claim. Water
Oh,
Yeah, water and sewer backup was not covered, so that is a water sewer backup. So the school had to pay 650,000 literally out of its pocket
oh my goodness.
for an endorsement that doesn't cost anything to add. It's just one little
Oh
sentence. Yeah,
God. That
I
just
know
breaks your
that one
heart,
still
right?
hurts
You're
my
like, that was
feelings.
a really expensive mistake. The tiniest oversight, right? Well, what about on the flip side? Can you share a time where like catching an insurance mistake or potential issue, saved an organization from a major potential hit?
Yeah, we performed a policy review. At that time, they were a prospect. They became a client. Realized that their retroactive date, which we'll cover later, was incorrect by about 5, 6 years. They became a client. We made the changes, got that squared away. In the meantime, within 12 months of that occurring, they had a uh, claim occur that had happened about 8 years prior to the current date, and
Oh,
ended up being a $1.6 million claim that would
holy
have a
mackerel.
100% been not covered with the retro date
Holy
incorrect.
mackerel.
So that one we were
Whew.
able to, yeah. So I was very happy to get that one fixed because it
Yeah.
it was happenstance that we caught it literally within 1 year, and then the claim popped up.
Yeah. That is wild. And thank goodness. I mean, that kind of impact on a school's budget, I can't even imagine, you know?
Yeah, I don't know if this school could have taken a $1.6 million hit. It would have been that would have been really tough.
That is wild. Well, thanks for sharing those stories. It's always so much more powerful. I mean, as we said, sometimes insurance feels like paperwork, but like hearing like the real life stories about what can happen, I think is a good reminder of like why we do the paperwork, why we get it done and what is on the line, you know, ultimately. Um Moving along, let's start by talking a little bit about property and casualty. So we all know that rates are climbing and boards are asking tough questions. Like what do you see as like the biggest cost pressures right now?
As far as the cost pressures, we have the buildings, as everybody knows, cost to rebuild has gone up. We've had fires, hail, floods. So property has been a pretty big driver, as well as all of the claims that have occurred, because just because claims occur in California or Florida, those insurance companies that sustain them spread that risk and increase rates across the country. So that has been a pretty large pressure, um, and the insurance carriers ending up having underinsured properties that should have been revalued, things like that. So some surprise costs for either the school or the carrier, depending on how the policy is written, as well as employment practices has gone up quite about 2,100% this year that I just looked at the other
Mm,
day. So
wow.
those claims,
Yeah.
yeah, those have gone up a lot.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. So I think, I mean, with all of that in mind and these rising rates, like I think a big question that people think about is like, what's the right amount of coverage, and how can schools and boards figure that out? Like, what kinds of questions should they be asking?
Yeah, I mean, one of the first ones to ask is, has your school been valuated, or your campus property been valuated in the past 5 years, really, and definitely in the last two. And that is something that your broker and your carrier need to do together, because you want to
Yeah.
make sure the carrier agrees, because um, if the cost to rebuild it is $500 a square foot, you want to make sure that the carrier agrees that's the correct value, so
Mhm.
you don't have an issue when that claim um, occurs. Uh, and kind of
Yeah.
going through that when you go through the valuation, going through the schools in your area is the best thing to do on their cost. New Mexico is a $750 a square foot rebuild, whereas an adjacent state like Texas is about 350 a square foot. So
Mm,
it is a very state specific thing that you have to ask the broker and the carrier uh, to go through.
to
And
do with
again,
you. Yeah.
having everything done ahead of the claim, like the price agreed to, so you don't have a co-insurance issue where you're
Mm,
penalized on your repayment of the claim, um,
yeah.
makes the payout occur so much faster, very painless claims process. And if it is an additional, if there is any additional cost, the carrier just pays it because they agreed to it.
Yeah. And how often do you recommend the schools do that?
So really 3 to 5 years,
Okay.
something in the market and your market has occurred to change it. Like
I
Las
mean, don't
Vegas.
we feel like there's been a lot of that lately?
I know,
Between
I was
COVID
going
and
to
tariffs
say,
and everything else, right? It's like, how can anyone keep track of these things there now?
we have so we have reevaluated for the last 4 years. We have reevaluated all of our client schools every 12
Yeah.
months. Um,
Wow. That's a lot.
yeah, but at least every 3 to 5. But
Yeah.
yeah, things have been so crazy. We just made the decision every 12 months to
Just do
just
it.
make sure everything's good.
I mean, better to be protected, right?
Yeah, and there is the other thing you want to speak to your broker about is making sure the land is not included when they value the building, because I run into that error sometimes, and that's
Oh, interesting.
sometimes you can overpay because you're paying for the
Yeah.
land if you're on if you're on a valuable parcel. So kind
Oh,
of
really
getting
interesting.
all of that squared away um, up front makes life much easier.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. That's super helpful. Moving along. So you've shared here, Erin, 5 risks that schools often miss. Can you talk us through them?
Yeah, so like we discussed before, retro dates. This is a big deal. So this date should align with basically when your board assembles. So not even the date your school started. If your school opened or your board was formed on January 1st of 2000, your retro date should go all the way back to that. Um,
Hmm. Okay.
if it doesn't, and what I run into, gosh, over half the time, is somewhere along the line, the broker just changes it every year to whatever the current year is. And when these type of claims, such as abuse, failure to educate, employee practices, things like this, occur, they typically don't occur in that 12-month time. So if the retro date, anything that occurred before whatever date is highlighted in retro is not covered.
Mhm. Not covered. Yeah. You could really get in trouble.
It's a very fast letter that you'll get. Abuse and molestation, abuse and molestation exclusions. There are several carriers that actually have coverage, and there's a charge for it.
It's
But
expensive. One of my clients was an after school program, and I was like, wow, like it's not insignificant.
it is not. It is not. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It is and it's a very expensive claim when it occurs, and I'm not disregarding the horrific nature
As
of it,
it
of
should
course.
be. Yeah.
Yeah. So there is often a caveat because your abuse and molestation coverage takes up the whole page, and then you flip it over on the back, and font 2 is a little caveat that says any actual or alleged criminal offense is not covered.
Oh,
Which
interesting.
in most cases, that little hidden gem,
That's what it is. Yeah, usually you would imagine.
right? And that is if it's or alleged, it doesn't even so you have to
Wow.
defend it, run through the court costs, the legal fees, everything else until the carrier steps in.
Yeah.
Underinsured property values, there is something called co-insurance, meaning your buildings have to be 80 to 90% of whatever the claim or the total value of the building is. If you underinsure it, there is a penalty. So not only is it underinsured, so even if they paid the entire amount, you'd have to pick up a 10 or 20% delta. There's often about a 40% penalty. So you have a partial claim of 200,000 and they come in and go, oh, you were underinsured. Your co-insurance cost is 80%. So
Whew.
they give you 120,000. The school has to pay the balance of the 80,000,
Wow.
which is
Yeah.
why we like to evaluate and have the carrier agree to those values.
Yeah. Yeah, I would think so.
Transportation liability, these are what we call our nuclear claims. They're the largest claims. Hired and non-owned, you always want to have on your policy. If you send somebody out to get lunch, in their own personal vehicle, and they have a bad accident and injure or, worse, 8 or 9 people in a vehicle, the first thing they're going to do is come after the school because they were working on school business.
Working. Yeah.
And that's going to be millions. So hired non-owned, super cheap. It's like $78 a year. Doesn't cost much. So even if you don't have a fleet, if you don't even have one vehicle, hired
It's still
non-owned,
worth getting.
absolutely.
That's really good to know.
Yeah. And we have seen because the employment practices um, have gone up, D&O, failure to educate, we've seen the limits coming down from 5 to now we've seen a lot of them down to 1 million. And really,
Mhm.
a school it should have at least 2 million in limits on all of these.
Oh, okay. That's really good to know.
And of course, that goes up the larger the school is.
Yeah. How do schools figure out like what their level should be, what the right, whether they're not, how to avoid being underinsured?
Yeah. So what you can do as a school is go to what we do is we actually benchmark it to other schools in your area, as well as benchmark to claims paid, as well as policies issued. So that way we're kind of taking into account what the other schools are carrying, what the average claims are, the amounts being paid out, as well as which carriers are issuing which limits. Because if if you need a higher limit and certain carriers just won't issue it, then we're not going to place you there. So it's a pretty easy thing to go to the broker and just say, hey, can you benchmark this, to the schools in the area and based on the average claims costs.
Yeah, that's good.
So
That's
you should
that's
not have to do anything as a school or a leader, but you can ask your broker to do that and they'll take care of it.
yeah.
We have a large pot of a few hundred clients, so we're able to do a pretty good benchmark.
Oh, okay, that's good. Yeah, I guess that would make a difference as you're thinking about a broker is wanting someone who is working with a lot of people that are similar or organizations that are similar to you, so they know what other people are doing or what the right, sort of industry expectations are.
It's very helpful. I'm not a good teacher, but I'm very good at taking care of the school's insurance.
You're like, this I know.
Yeah.
That's great. Great. So we've talked about buildings and liability. Now let's talk about your biggest investment, which is your people. Benefits are a huge expense for companies and a big factor as they think about recruitment and retention of their employees. And so, Aaron, I know schools are asking you about alternatives. What's happening in that world?
So yeah, I mean, everyone is seeing the traditional, I'm just going to say the traditional insurance, which is just fully insured. You pay Blue Cross, Cigna, premium, they pay your claims, and you've seen your rates go up and up and up and up, an average of 9% a year for the last 10 years. So
Wow.
in this year, I believe the carriers posted 15% average increases. Um, so what schools can do, there is the traditional way. Then you have a level funded, which repays, it's partially self-funded. It actually repays some of your unused premium, typically agreed upon 50 to 70%, ahead of time. And then self-funded. Once you're over really 75 to 100 employees, you can look at self-funding. And in that case, you just keep all of the unused premiums. There's no gray. It is completely transparent. That one
Interesting.
that one is
Yeah.
very good. You can have better benefits. So instead of having the one size fits all of a traditional plan that has to take into account, different state, federal mandates, things like that, that may not even be applicable to your people, you can actually engineer a health insurance plan that covers the things that your people actually utilize. Um,
Oh, that's great. Really sort of customize it.
Yeah, it's a great help. You can do things, free medications, maintenance meds, free imaging, outpatient surgery, and not When I say free outpatient and free imaging, actually is best in class. Typically, you can
Oh,
select Mayo Clinic, things like that, who are best suited for care in a particular arena. Because at the end of the day, it is a better outcome for your people, and it's a lower cost for you, which I mean, you
I
can't.
mean,
Yeah,
yeah, you're saving money, you're supporting staff better, you're giving your HR team hours back, I'm sure. Like it seems like a win for everyone.
yeah, and it's something you can change every year and adjust to your staff as your staff has life changes. They're in different life stages. You can make changes to best suit them because health insurance is your second most costly thing, and the last thing you want to do
Yeah.
is have them complaining about it uh, because
Yeah, no, it's not great for retention and all sorts of other things. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm curious, like when you've seen schools think about this and have some hesitation, what misconceptions do they have? What ideas do you have to sort of dispel?
Yeah, so the biggest thing I see is when they hear self-insured, they think, oh, unlimited, liability, cost, exposure, it takes a lot of time. I don't want to do it. It's scary.
Yeah.
And if that were true, that'd be the case. It's come a long way. So
Mm.
when you are self-funded or even partially self-funded, what we do is we put what's called a monthly stopgap. So your premiums, just like you have today on a traditional plan, let's say it's $10,000 a month. We can
Mm.
cap your self-funded premium or expense at 10,000. If it's under that, you keep that money. If it goes over, there's an insurance plan that picks up that cost. Then we
Oh, so you almost get rid of some of that risk by insuring for that extra risk?
and that
I tell you, there's so many different layers of this, Aaron. How do you even keep track of it all?
yeah, I try to keep track of the best ones, and and then there's the annual stopgap. So the monthly is the cash flow issue because
Yeah.
nobody could, if you have a $1.2 million or, well, I'm sorry, $120,000 annual expected
Yeah.
cost, and that all happens in 2 months, that's tough to deal
Yeah.
with. So we have that monthly stopgap, then we have the annual stopgap. So if it runs 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, then at some point it goes on the last month, you just have a crazy month. You pay your 10 and you're done. The insurance carrier kicks in and takes everything above that, including the run out claim, which is what some people they hear the word and it scares them, but it's
Yeah.
basically that 6 months of care after the policy ends and the people that have issues in that last month. So we have all of that insured to remove the uncertainty of cost. So we can put a worst
Yeah.
case scenario in, and anything that is better, the school keeps the money. Um,
Great.
it's
What school
very
doesn't want to keep
transparent.
the money?
Yeah, it's very transparent and it takes all of the gray out of health insurance because traditional plans, they do not really give much detail at all about where
Yeah.
the costs are.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's fascinating. I think working with a broker who has all of this depth of knowledge about the different options and about the benefits and the risks of each of them, like I think can really make a difference for schools to figure out what will best meet their needs. But I think it's also true that like they have to figure out how to run this whole process internally, right? Because we all know that like the broker's not going to do all the things. Like there's so many pieces that have to happen within an organization. And I have done this as a chief of staff. I have gotten like the first insurance policy for, a new nonprofit organization. And it's a whole handful of work, right? It's a big project. And it's the kind of thing that like comes around once a year or whatever, or whenever there's an issue. And so you like it's not obviously the part of someone's job, right? So I think what can be helpful is to have someone who really owns it and runs with it. And so as I think about the role that VChief and our consultants sometimes help with charter schools is playing that quarterback role. So they're the ones who are thinking about like the deadlines and the updates and making sure that we're not going to miss a renewal deadline, and sort of backwards planning from there with the broker and the insurance agency to make sure that they have everything they need. You're sort of pulling documents from HR and finance and operations, and then thinking about the comparisons of the options that get pulled together, and making some decisions, and supporting the board as they make those decisions, right? And then again, as I said, when things come up, right, when there are claims, just making sure that not only are we dealing with is the insurance dealing with the claim as they need to, but also like, what did we learn from what happened there, and how is that going to inform our policy decisions next go around? And having owned this process, like, I think it was a real weight lifted off the mind of the leader that I was supporting, because she knew that this was a big deal and it was really important, and we wanted to get it right the first time and not have these like crazy horror stories that you're telling us. So I just think, as I said, like having someone to be that quarterback to move us through it can be really helpful.
Yeah, and that's where we kind of try to work hand in hand with VChief, and really, you have access to the data we need, and we have access to the insurance carriers. We deal with the policies day in, day out. Um, so you don't have to, like you said, how I keep up with all of this. You don't have to. We can put it together for you, go through the options, go through your organization's vision, goals, where, what you're wanting to do, and put together a couple of options, and help really show you in a pretty clear and concise manner, meaning you and the board, here's the best option for your organization today, and moving forward. And again, we can do this best by having access to the data that V-Chiefs can get, because if a leader is overwhelmed, they have a lot of trouble even getting, the bare necessities to us.
Right. It's hard to even get in front of them, charter school leaders. Jesus, they're busy people.
Yeah, they're, even if it could save them $500,000 a year, they're just
Right. You're like, this is kind of a big deal. So you just need the person behind them nudging them, being like, hey, PS, this is
I just
important.
need two
Just
spreadsheets.
could you look at this?
Yeah, I know. And yeah, and be cheap for the people that have the policies. They keep track of that stuff. You'd be amazed at the schools that a lot of times they don't have their policies stored somewhere. They can't really, don't have access to them readily, censuses, things like that. And that's where having a great back room like you guys helps the school overall save time, money, and get better results today, and 5, 10 years down the road, because that's how we look at it. It's not just today, but in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what insurance is all about, right? Protecting our futures. So, um, I want to just wrap us up by talking about some takeaways. So, speaking to those of you out there, insurance doesn't have to be the thing that you procrastinate on. I think if you're thinking about the right questions, you can really save a lot of money and a lot of risk down the road. And like you talked about the employee benefits and thinking about that in new and strategic ways that I think maybe not everybody's considering, or they're worried about, they don't know the benefits that they could get from it doing that way. I know you bring sort of an expertise in this area of insurance, and we bring some support that can just help keep leaders out of the weeds of this by providing something that some support that they don't have to take care of it, very little detail to get this moving through. So I think together we can sort of simplify this process and get schools what they need. And it's been great to share a little bit about the experience and how that happens, how that unfolds in real time. So I would love for those of you in the chat, as you reflect on what you learned from today, if you have any things that stuck out to you, things that you want to take with you the next time you go through this process, I would love to hear what those are. So feel free to drop those in the chat. And Erin, while folks share their feedback, I would love to just hear what other takeaways you have on your end. Sorry, Erin, did we lose you? Did we lose me? Oh, you're unfrozen now. Erin, I asked if you had any other takeaways you wanted to share from your end.
Yeah, so and yeah, definitely you guys being there is key to making sure that the leadership and the school are best protected. And kind of some of the I guess some key questions that are easy for y'all to ask, to get at least kind of a good grasp on where your insurance is check the retro dates. Ask the broker, what is my retro date? It has to match up with the charter school's start date. Water and sewer backup.
That's always true, no matter how old the school is.
It does not, 30, 40, 50, 100 years. It does not matter. Yeah.
Okay.
It's literally, there's no cost. It's just a date that we type in and give to the underwriter.
Okay. Write it down, folks. You heard it here first.
Yes, it is. And it's missed so often. Water and sewer backup. That is I don't know.
No shoes and toilets. Come on now, kids.
It happens a lot. I know. They don't know it's going to cost 3, 4, 500,000, but it does.
Yeah, you literally can't imagine, right? You think it's like, oh, I have to replace a little floor or something. No, it's not. Yeah.
No, and it's in the best case, you'll have 25,000 on a sub limit, which is not enough. Yeah, and look at the employee benefits options. So if you've been fully insured, I have so many schools I've worked with that have never looked at it, and they've gone from 25 employees to 500, and they're literally still doing it the way they did with 25. And they could have saved, $500,000, $700,000 a year. It's a lot. And the employees would have better experience. And with the technology that we utilize, it actually is less workload on your shoulders, because there's still a lot more you have to do besides work for the insurance broker. So we do utilize technology that saves about 21 hours a month from the backroom folks.
That's impressive.
It.
Yeah, that's not nothing.
No, so yeah, always look at the benefits, the retro date, water and sewer backup, and really benefits probably in most cases has never been questioned. It's probably just something to ask about. Yeah,
right. At least start the conversation.
Yeah, because we do a 10-year run out, which is always in millions of savings. So every year it shows the compounding of the savings.
Good sales tactic, right? Like, look at this. Like, you will benefit.
Yeah. It gives you a budget.
Showing them. Yeah, right. Think of all the other ways you could spend that money. Awesome. So we have covered a lot. Property, casualty, benefits, renewals. I am curious what questions people might have in the chat. So I will invite you, those of you who are watching and listening, to submit any questions you have for me or for Erin. I think you can see our different expertise here. While we wait for people to submit their questions, I will ask you some questions for myself. So I sorry, look in my notes for questions. Um, I am curious to hear, like if you um, could could suggest one simple thing that schools can do this week, right now, to help set themselves better up for the next insurance cycle, what would it be?
To go through your campus, do an inspection, make sure that you list all of the safety things you have in place from, sprinklers, uh, fire suppression systems, if you have automatic lockouts, um, the, key card entries, any kind of safety items that you have a list of those because those need to be communicated to the underwriter. And there are
Mm.
underwriters have a 40% delta. They can go up 40% or down 40% in pricing. Um, so
Say more about that.
there's a state insurance department in every state, and they have to file a base rate. And
Oh.
within that, there's a 40% over, 40% under based on the risk or exposure. And so you reduce your risk by having these safety things in place, which
Oh,
means
okay.
making
So
a
that gets
margin.
you on the lower end of the 40%.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one piece that I thought was really interesting. In particular, as when we were talking about the sort of sexual misconduct insurance earlier, it was fascinating to me that the insurance was like, well, if you do X, Y, and Z things or set these policies up, that can more positively affect what the rate is going to be or whatever. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, and I think in some ways, like it just sets really good best practices, right?
It does. It helps a lot if something should happen and you're in court that you have the best practices. It
Yeah.
really removes a lot of the negligent aspect of a court case. That's the lawyer term, of course, where
Yeah.
the claims become much higher. But also, it will lower your deductibles, which is a very good
Yeah.
thing because they can be 5 to 50, $100,000. So the less chance you have of having that sexual abuse claim due to best
Yeah.
practices, the more willing they are to be closer to that $5,000 deductible.
Yeah, yeah, that's good stuff. And Aaron, I'm curious in this field, like what are there any like new things happening that this is less about like what someone is asking a question. So maybe we'll go with their question first and then I'll let you talk after that. But Melissa put in the chat, could you please explain what schools can do better to protect themselves from environmental damages? This is timely. Heavy rains, roof damages, trees falling on trees, etc.
So the best thing is so for things such as trees, stuff like that. That's really just having somebody come out, a facilities person, do the trimming, get that stuff away from the building so it can't um, be knocked into the roof, things like that. And really, the other very important thing is have an inspection done. There's a lot of exclusions in policies for damage that occurred before that you have a hail claim that some leaking occurred. Insurance companies, if they haven't performed an inspection, can say that that claim occurred in this hailstorm, not this last one, so they don't have to pay it.
Oh,
So
fascinating.
so having an inspection done, there's not a cost for this. Just having
Do
the
you do that
carrier
right
done.
when you start with a new policy or
I
just like once a
actually
year
do it.
or
So basically, yes, until you change carrier. So when you start with a new carrier, having them
yeah.
do a inspection even before the policy starts. And then, they can cite anything that they see, and then you can make those repairs and you'll document that to the insurance company. And
Okay.
then if the environmental claim occurs, you have a leak, which causes a flood, which causes a big claim, or an entire roof is damaged. Everything has been looked at. You've discussed it with the carrier. You've made the repairs. Now we know we're starting
Then
from
they
a
can't use
baseline of
that.
zero. Everything
Yeah.
here is now covered. So that's the best way. Um, as far as the things that they can't help, like tree limbs, stuff like that. Just having those trimmed, cleared away, things that are loose and heavy that can be blown around if you have any kind of high wind situations, having those bolted down, and raising the things such as air conditioning systems, boilers, refrigeration units. I've seen a lot of schools that are now raising those up 8, 10 feet, even in Arizona,
Exciting.
where when it does rain, they have a flood.
Yeah, yeah, that's some of the scary stuff when that comes fast and furious. Super interesting. I'm curious, sort of just industry wide, as we see more effects of climate change or warming globe, like has that affected? I mean, it seems like there's more and more disasters, different places, whether that's wildfires or tornadoes. Like, how have you seen that play out in your work?
So that's been more those things have basically impacted state by state. So, like you're talking about the fires, if you have an area where they're not doing any kind of um, you know preliminary work, like having fire breaks or these large
Yeah,
swaths
yeah,
of land where they've cut timber and things down, so if a wildfire
sort of
runs towards
building
it.
a barrier. Yeah,
Yeah, so if the state's not doing that, or the city, whoever's responsibility it is, then um, the rates go up. And some carriers are just leaving the state. Um, and when flooding is occurring due to, it's out of date, or basically septic sewer systems that the city operates that can't keep up with the new population, you're going to have higher premiums, things like that, higher deductibles, just because Miami and Fort Lauderdale flood every year. Well, actually,
yeah.
they flood a few times a year with a full moon and a high tide. Uh, they have all the new people, and their city system can't keep up with it. So you're going to have less insurance companies willing to insure you.
Yeah,
The ones that are there are charging a higher rate. In California, fires, in Colorado as well, where they're not doing quite as much on the fire prevention side, there's going to be less that are willing to come in and insure that, which actually is true in the hill country of Texas. They don't do as much there. Um, they have a whole lot more out of control flames. Um,
yeah,
so that's really how that's impacted um, things. Is basically how each region is addressing the things like the flooding, the fire, the hurricanes, the random, yes, the random climate
yeah.
conditions. Just they're hard to plan
Not
for.
one thing or another.
It's hard
Yeah,
to plan
yeah,
for them all. Insurance companies are very good at actually figuring out when they're going to happen. But it is really hard to plan for them all. But
yeah. It is. It is tough stuff. Yeah. Well, we are running out of time. So, Aaron, I want to thank you so much for your time today. Any last thoughts or that you want to share?
well, I no, really just yeah, if you need anything, of course, call. But yeah, have V Chiefs take a look at your things, and everybody should take a look at your buildings, the values, take a look at the benefits, take a look at your limits and deductibles, because a lot of people kind of ignore that part and go, oh, it's state minimum. And
Yeah.
really, just if you feel like you're doing too much work, uh, you probably are. So you need to have, probably a better, a better broker helping you with these things, and a V
An
chief
expert who
there,
knows what to pay attention to.
and a
Yeah.
V chief there helping you get the data to them, so you're not overwhelmed with it.
Amen. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you folks for joining us today. This was a great conversation. I learned a lot, and I hope you did too. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron.